Now we'll walk through loading data from a flat file into a database table. This assumes that we've already got a valid database connection set up in our flow, so you'll want to do that before moving forward. To start, we'll choose a flat file source node since we're loading data from a flat file. We'll double click that to open it up, and the first thing we'll see is a spot to enter our file path and file name. So I'll be loading from C SQL training data zip.csv, zip.csv being the file that I want to load. There's also a browse button here where you can type in a file path and use almost a file explorer type of a view to look at files within a folder and choose the file from there. There are also some options here around how the file is going to be processed by Euclid and the contents of the file. The first being if the first row has a header or if you've had column names in your file. In this case, we do. The file delimiter. In this case, we're using a CSV file, so the delimiter is comma. There also are pipe and tab options for pipe and tab delimited files. You can also choose how Euclid's going to process the quoting in the file. Auto will automatically detect quoted data and discard them if you've got that checked, but you can also specify no quote, single, or double quotes if your data is quoted in that way. There's also the option to use a data type template or a .jdt file to specify data types in the file. This is optional and we won't be doing that here. Once we're good with all of our options in the file path here, we can click Infer Data Types, and the first few records of the data will be processed by Euclid, and it'll spit out what it thinks the column names are and the data types of those columns. So we can quickly check those, make sure that those are what we expect, and if there are any errors or inconsistencies, we can adjust the column data types here. For example, zip is a numeric string, but Euclid is seeing those numbers and thinking that it's an integer. We know that it is a string because it's a 5-digit zip code, so we can just click from the drop-down string. Once we feel good about that, we can preview the data, see the first few hundred rows, see how the data is being parsed, and just a quick spot check to make sure it's what we expect. We can go ahead and close that. The next thing we'll need is a database export node to export that data into our database. We've got our database connection drop down here. It's already got one selected, but you can choose the one you want if you've got multiple set up. You can specify a table name. In this case, we'll choose zip since it's zip code data. The write mode, or how it's going to write this data into the database, we'll choose recreate table, so it'll drop the table zip if it already exists, create a new table, and insert all the data from our file. We've also got some options here around inserting into an existing table. Batch commit is a way to commit both records at once rather than one at a time. This greatly speeds up the data processing if you're inserting a lot of data, so that's on by default. Down here, you can also choose to add an index if you'd like to index the table after it's populated. So we'll go ahead and click Run once we're good with all these options. And we'll get the Run Completed dialog here. So that means that the data has been successfully loaded from the flat file into Euclid and then moved into the zip table in our database connection.